There's two types of bad posture, and you can figure out which type you are by simply using a broomstick. And if you do the right stretches for the right type of bad posture, it's gonna get better. But if you do the wrong ones, it's gonna get a whole lot worse. So grab a broomstick, grab it with your hand with a thumb down, and then swing it behind your back, put your hand on your tailbone, grab the top of it with your other hand on the back of your head. Now what you want to do is, from a side angle, look at your posture. If you have a rounded upper back where your head is forward and not in contact with the broomstick, then you have what's called kyphotic posture. I'll tell you what to do to fix that in just a sec. And if it's easy to put your shoulder blades in the back of your head and your tailbone against that broomstick, but there's a big gap between your lower back and the broomstick, you have what's called a lordotic posture. And I'll show you how to fix that one too. So let's get started. Now, if you had kyphotic posture, or this rounded upper back posture, then you need to stretch the muscles that bring you into this position. And for kyphotic posture, what that means is this: your pelvis is tucked under, which means short hamstrings. So we've got to stretch your hamstrings. The second thing is the shoulders and the upper back are pulled forward and down like this, which means all the muscles from your shoulder all the way into your core and in your chest, those muscles are tight and we need to stretch those. However, if you had lordotic posture, or this anterior pelvic tilt, then you have to do something completely different. Because for you, the muscles of your hip flexors and your psoas are the ones that are tight, pulling your pelvis into this position, and typically your core needs a little bit of work as well. What's interesting about this is, if you do the stretches for lordotic posture when you have kyphotic posture, it can just make things worse, and vice versa. So make sure you do the right stretches for your body, because when you do the right stretches, you feel a whole lot better. Let's get started with the two stretches for kyphotic posture. Okay, for kyphotic posture, we're gonna start off with one of my favorite stretches for your chest and your shoulders, which also strengthens the muscles between your shoulder blades and helps improve that upper back posture. So what you're gonna do is come to the edge of a chair, turn your fingertips to the outside like this, and then what we're gonna do is pull the shoulder blades back and lift the chest and drop the shoulders down away from the ears. So don't let your shoulders shrug up like this. We're lifting the chest, pulling the shoulder blades back and down. I also try to think about turning my elbow pits, right? So this is the pit of my elbow. I try to think about turning my elbow pits to the outside like this. That external rotation will ensure that we're stretching the shoulders and the chest muscles. Now what we're gonna do is scoot the butt forward all the way to the edge of the chair and continue lifting the chest as much as possible while pulling the shoulder blades back and down. Now you can hold this stretch for 30 to 60 seconds and then slowly come out of it. Now what I like so much about this stretch is it's a stretch you can do almost anytime, anywhere. You can do it in a seated position like this, whenever you're sitting in a chair, on a couch, or even at your desk. And I highly recommend you do this stretch at least once a day, but maybe even better would be doing it several times throughout the day to constantly loosen these muscles up, tone the muscles back here, and remind your body that we want to have better posture. Now once you've done this stretch, we want to loosen up the hamstrings. So the next stretch we're going to do is come to the side of a chair, and all you have to do is drop your heel on top of the chair like this, turn your hips straight forward, have a nice tall posture. For some of you, you might already feel your hamstrings stretching in this position. If you do, that's fine. Just maintain a nice tall posture, and as you breathe in and out and start to relax those muscles, bring your belly button forward. We never want to stretch our hamstrings with our back rounded like this, especially if we already have bad posture, because look at this. This is us encouraging more bad posture. So we want to stretch those muscles, but with a nice tall spine, right? So again, I think about bringing my belly button to my thigh, okay? And again, we're going to hold this one for at least 60 seconds this time, maybe even ideally 90 seconds, taking big belly breaths in, and as we exhale, trying to relax the hamstring and coming more forward like this. Now if you need to, using the backrest of the chair or a wall or something else for support, for balance, that's totally fine. And once you come out of this stretch, very slowly, go ahead and switch to the other side and make sure you do the other side as well. Now if you have lordotic posture, we gotta focus on something completely different, because as I said in the beginning of this video, if you do the wrong stretches for your body, you can make your body feel a whole lot worse. It's about always making sure you're doing the right stretches and the right moves for you that actually make your body feel better. So for someone with that lordotic posture, that anterior pelvic tilt, the first thing we want to do is we want to stretch the muscles of the hip flexors, okay? And here's one of my favorite ways to do that. Again, you can have a chair to do this in, and you're going to take a kneeling position on the chair like this, put your hand on the back of the chair like this, then you're going to swing this leg in front of the chair like this. Now the first thing we want to do is we don't want to open our hips like this and have our pelvis going at like a 45-degree angle to our front leg. Instead, we want to squeeze the glutes and turn the pelvis straight forward like this. We want to imagine tucking our tailbone down towards the ground like this, never arching your lower back, all right? So we want to keep our glutes tight and our tailbone tucked under. Now in this position, I'm going to come forward, imagining I'm dropping my pelvis towards my heel, and I'm going to start to feel a deep stretch on this back hip flexor right here. It can be a really intense deep stretch. So hold it while you breathe deep into your belly, and as you exhale, relax and bring your hips more forward, okay? You want to hold this one for at least 60, but ideally 90 seconds on each side. And again, don't let your hips open up like this, and don't let your lower back arch like this, thinking you're getting more of a stretch. If you're doing that, you're actually just making your lordotic posture worse. We really want to focus on tailbone tucked under, hips straight forward, and bringing our pelvis this direction so we can feel that deep stretch in the back of the hip flexors. Now, once you come out of that, I always like to pause when I'm doing unilateral stretches and just feel the difference between the hip I stretched and the hip I didn't stretch. It should feel a whole lot looser, a whole lot better, and it should feel like it works a lot better too. And then make sure you go the other side and do that stretch as well. Now, after that, we want to start strengthening the core, because when we strengthen the core, it also helps pull the pelvis into the right position. And one of my favorite ways to practice this is to do a high chair plank. And I know what some of you are probably thinking, oh, this is going to be super easy. I'm just going to do a plank on the back of a chair like this. But I'm going to show you a couple things to do to make this really challenging, and also to help you stretch your hip flexors and strengthen your core at the same time. So what we're going to do is come into a plank position with our hands on the back of a chair like this. If your wrists bother you with your fingers straight forward, you can always try turning them to the outside like this. That decreases the angle necessary to hold this position and oftentimes makes people's wrists feel a whole lot better. Now come back into your plank position, and the most important thing that you're going to focus on is this. You're likely, since you have lordotic posture, going to want to stick your tailbone and your butt out like this. I'm over-exaggerating just so you can really see it, but we don't want to do that, okay? And we don't want to fix it also by bringing our hips down like this and having an arch in our lower back. Both of those things are just going to cause lower back pain and not help our posture. Instead, what we want to do is we want to squeeze the glutes and tuck the pelvis. And the way I like to think about this is you're either trying to push the lower back towards the sky or point the tailbone all the way down towards the ground as much as we can. Now in this position, we should have a nice safe spine, and you should even feel your hip flexors stretching ever so slightly, especially if they're tight. Now if we want to really activate the core in this position, the final thing we want to do is we want to push our hands down into the chair, imagining we're dragging our hands back towards our thighs like this. That's going to activate the muscles underneath your armpits and into your core immediately, and the harder you push and squeeze, the more challenging this is going to be. So even if you're already strong and you can do normal planks on the ground, doing a plank like this on the back of the chair while holding a ton of tension can really strengthen your core. One of the goals you should be working up to is being able to hold this while maintaining glutes, tailbone tucked, and hands pressed into the chair for an entire 60 seconds. And you could practice this one every day as well, and watch as when you're finished, you stand up and your whole body wants to go back into a much better postural position. I'm curious, which type of posture did you end up having, and which move felt the best for you? Let us know in the comments below.